There is an app for learning that's a good app apparently that you can get for learning Tagalog.
Oh yeah, I have that on Rosetta Stone. The problem is, none of her relatives speak Tagalog. They all speak Visayan. So it would help me in my travels through the country.
Yes.
But it wouldn't help me in the immediate neighborhood where she lives too much.
No, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you to feel part of the family, but it does help you to feel part of the country.
It does.
Because then you can listen to the news. You can
understand.
You can watch movies. So it's one of those that there's no way around it. You have to learn both. But I think if you learn Tagalog, then you're going to be able to learn Visayan.
That's a good point.
If you took Tagalog as a first language, I actually know quite a bit of Tagalog, but you have to reach that plateau where you can actually talk to people.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of work to get to that.
Yes. Yes.
Well, you got a good point there. I should start applying myself to that software that I already have, and then address the Visayan issue when I'm here on a more prolonged basis.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing to do. I've been putting it off, but I shouldn't put it off much longer. Now that I'm retired, especially.
Right.
As a non-commissioned member in the combat arms, so I did 7 years in the combat arms in the artillery, to be precise, and then I applied for voluntary retraining into a logistics branch so I could acquire some real-world skills.
Oh, so when you finally come out?
Yeah, when I finally come out, I know how to do something. So
you're retired anyway.
Other than make things go boom. So that was my story.
So I could have gone on. I think the attraction was, for me, was that it would be in a foreign country. These were the pros of the thing. I would have gone in as a sergeant, and I think Mucha said that you could roll over. So my 8.5 years would have counted towards my 22 years.
It's possible. Although the rules have changed over the years, I'm not sure what they were back then, so that's entirely possible.
Yeah. So I think that was the thing then, and I spoke to a man who had just come back from being a sergeant in the Canadian Army Band. He absolutely loved it, but his wife didn't. So it didn't work, so he came back, and I'm not sure, I think he re-enlisted in the British Army.
That's good that he was able to do that, re-enlist.
Yeah, I don't know whether they count your previous service. I don't see why they shouldn't.
I don't know what it's like in the British Army, but there is a formula and a methodology in the Canadian Army. If you have a break in service, they can calculate. They can subtract the break and then prorate previous time toward your new period of service.
Oh, right.
It gives you a kickstart toward your pensionable.
Right. So I guess looking at it, if you said you would away for 6 months, then you'd come back and do the equivalent of 22.5 years to count as 22.
Yeah, they would
something like that.
They would subtract any non-paid service. It would be the regular paid pensionable service time they would count, and then depending how long you had been out, would determine whether or not you keep the qualifications you had, or whether you needed to do training to bring you back up to speed or not. But if it was a short period, it would be fairly seamless. But if it was a longer period, there's a little more to it, but still doable.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, my attitude was so hardened against being in there. Like for the first year, I thought, well, I just don't like it. But after a year, it's probably gonna. But no, after a year, I realized that it wasn't that I didn't like it; I hated it. So then, I spent 7.5 years in purgatory trying to get out. So I actually did. I was allowed to audition for a Guards band, and I went down and I auditioned for the Welsh Guards. And on my musical ability, because by that time I was already a first class trade in music, and they would have taken me, but then they saw my psychiatric evaluation.
Attitude problem
And
or something that
I think he actually said he's not psychiatric, but will never be any use to the army. And they said sorry, so they never accepted me.
If I may ask, what instrument did you play?
I played trombone.
Trombone. Okay.
Yeah. See, so that never. I don't know. Maybe that would have stopped me from going into the Canadian army as well. Really not sure.
Well, I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me, and I really couldn't figure out what else to do with myself at the time. So my original intention was, well, I'll do this till I figure it out. And I ended up doing it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that was quite a spell of service. Was it 32 years?
32 and a half years. I could have gone to 35, but I pulled the plug a little bit earlier.
Wow. So you chickened out, right? There you were, 32 and a half years. Oh well. I would, if I'd served 22 years, I would have had quite a good pension. Now, I don't have a good pension now because
if you hang in there long enough.
Yeah. Actually, when I found them calculating my pension from the UK, because I left and went to America, it seemed to me that they had not taken into account anything that I did in the army. I got such a disgraceful small pension from the UK.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, but I was in the US for about 20 years, so so that it's okay. It's enough. It's enough. Even if we didn't do anything else, we would be able to live on that.
Well, the pension policy in the Canadian Army is pretty good. So even though I didn't max it out, I still came away with something I can at least survive on.
Yeah. Well, especially if you came and lived here. Is that your plans?
That was my plan was to escape Canadian winters and spend maybe November to March here.
Right.
I would still miss Canada, and plus, if you can't stay away for more than 6 months or so before you start to lose some privileges and
you have to go back.
You have to go back, partially for tax reasons, partially for other reasons. It's good to go back.
So that you can still claim to be Canadian, I guess.
Overall Canadian, a resident and Canadian citizen. And I would miss Canada anyways. I would want to go back. Still have friends there, and activities I like to do in Canada.
I've met quite a few people that I met through our channel. Two actually left the place that they come. Canada is one. We've just had a friend, Kevin, just came and stayed for a while, and he comes back. He came for his second visit, but he absolutely loves New Zealand. He thinks it's the greatest country and has no real wish to come and live here in the same way that I don't miss the UK or America. I mean, I'm home here. It's a big difference. But I met someone at one of the Ice Bear, Tim. He is totally happy with his life in America, and a lot of people are. You know, I found that the people who come here there are two. It's almost like two kinds of people. One kind is the one that comes here because he's got to, because he can't afford to live in America, and is resentful because of that, so complains about the Philippines all the time. Or the ones that didn't like the regulation and the rules and the laws and the way that the country was going politically, and came over here, and is happy to be here. And I know a lot of people like that. But it seems to be either one or the other, the complainer or the one who says, I got no complaints.